guys, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today I want to chat with you about what I have read so far in June. So let's get into it. I hope you guys don't mind. Don't hold me to this, but I think I'm going to start doing a mid-month wrap-up because I just feel like my wrap-ups are so long and I've been reading more, which is very lucky. So I'd like to be able to chat about things. Also, you know, I find sometimes by the end of the month I'll forget what I've read at the beginning and forget like what I liked about them and what I didn't like. So this is just a nice little thing to do. Yeah, so let's chat about the books that I have read so far in June. It's been a good reading month. In my head, I thought I hadn't read very much, but I've already read 6 books, which is quite a lot. Honestly, it's quite a lot, so I'm very, very happy with that. I only have 1 book in physical form. The rest I listen to on audiobook. Thank goodness for audiobooks because I have been struggling to read things physically. Big time. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm really, really grateful for audiobooks. That's for sure. So shall we start with the ones I've liked the most and then go down the list? I think that's what we'll do. So the book that I've read so far this month that I've liked the most is A Good Marriage by Kimberly McCreight. Now, I have never read a Kimberly McCreight book before, and I have 2 of her books on my shelves, and I'm so happy that I do because I loved her writing style. This is a thriller. A Good Marriage is about a lawyer who receives a call from an inmate at a prison, and it's this guy that she went to school with many moons ago. He is accused of having murdered his wife. His wife is found bludgeoned to death, I think with a golf club, and all eyes point to him. And so he asks her to represent him. She does so very reluctantly. She's kind of like pushed into it. To read from her perspective, you read that storyline, her trying to, you know, defend this man, but then you also are reading about her own marriage and the issues that she has with her husband. Her husband is an alcoholic and they're really struggling. And of course, you're finding out about this marriage between this man and woman who's died. And you also read from the perspective of, I think her name was Amanda, and it was Amanda who died. And you read from her perspective with her group of friends and their interesting marriages. And I just thought, you know, this is a domestic thriller, and this is what I want from domestic thrillers. The characters are layered, like very, very layered. They're each and every person, even the side characters, felt like their own people that weren't just pushing the plot along. They had their own crap going on in their lives. They had their own interesting dynamics. Their marriages were really, really interesting. And I loved this book. I was really, really impressed by it. And I'm so happy that I have 2 more of her books on my shelves because I can tell that she's going to be a favorite thriller writer for me. I love that because thrillers can be hit or miss, as you know. Okay, now let's talk about a 3-star series of books. So guilty pleasure. I've been reading the Selection series by Kira Cass. It really is like Kira Cass took The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise, all of that, and mixed it with the Hunger Games, just in the terms of like there being districts, and you know, there is a competition. It's much more Bachelor than it is Hunger Games. I only reference that because there are different castes or districts and classes, and that kind of thing really plays a part in this series. I really enjoyed it. There's a bit of romance in here, which is silly. Like, this is a silly series, but I could not stop listening, guys. So last month I read the first, called The Selection. This month I read the 2 follow-ups to that storyline, The Elite and The One. I gave both of those 3 stars. They were fine. They were fine. They were fun. And then after that, you move on to the next generation. And so I read The Heir, which I gave 2 stars. I didn't like that. And then The Crown, I ended up giving 4 stars. So you just never knew how I was going to feel as I went along. But it was a lot of fun, incredibly fluffy. I think she has another book that's just come out called The Betrothed. I don't know if it's the same series or a new series. In any case, guess who's on hold for that at the library to listen to? I cannot help myself. I sometimes need a little fluff. I'm missing The Bachelor in a super embarrassing way. So there's that. And then the physical book. We can finally get to that. I also gave 3 stars to Within These Walls by Anya Alborn. This is a horror book, and it's a ghosty kind of horror book, which is always fun. And this follows a true crime writer who started, his career really with a bang. He's wrote a very popular true crime book, very well known. Since then, he's been trying to write and just really struggling with, doing something as good as his first book. His marriage is very much on the rocks. He knows his wife is cheating on him. They have a teenage daughter. He's in a bad place. And so when a mass murderer reaches out to him from prison and asks him, hey, would you like to interview me? He jumps at the chance, even if that means moving much closer to where this man, lives in prison so he can go and do interviews. And even though part of the deal with this guy is that he has to move in to the house where this mass murder happened, he agrees to it all and moves with his teenage daughter over one summer. And I love the premise of it so much. I really, there were things about it that I struggled with though. Straight from the get-go that he's meant to go and interview this serial killer, Jeffrey Holcomb. But what he doesn't actually really, it's very early on where he doesn't meet him. And I kept waiting for him to meet him, and I struggled with that. The house is haunted, and I enjoyed that. There were lots of moments where I would get that image in my head of these ghosts basically running around. Furniture is moving around the house, and I enjoyed all of that. But I think I wanted it to go in a different direction, and that's not really the book's fault. It's more my fault. But I do feel like the back of the book didn't really reflect what was on the inside, because we follow our main character, Lucas, who's the true crime writer, and you follow his perspective, but you also follow the perspective of his daughter, and nothing on here suggests that his daughter follows him to this house, and she's a huge character in here. And then you also flash backwards in time to one of the victims, who has joined a cult, and guess who's the leader of the cult? The mass murderer is totally the leader. And you follow her life, meeting these people in the cult as well as the cult leader up until her death. I didn't really love that storyline at all. I wasn't really interested in it. So there was lots of points where it just lost me. I thought the writing was good, so I will read more by Anya Alborn, but I just wasn't totally blown away. I wasn't really scared, and with a haunted house story, it's very easy to scare me, especially with haunted house stories. I love them so much, and it's easy to impress me, and so I wish that I felt more, but it was just good, and I would recommend it. It's a great summer read. So there is that. And now I need to talk to you about what I'm reading right this second. On audio, I have picked back up In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This is a true crime book about the Clutter family who were found murdered in 1959 in this small town. They were found shot in very close proximity to their faces. They were shot. And it was like this very brutal murder. The murderers took their time, which is disturbing. I'm feeling okay about it. I'm not, I think, you know, there's so much hype around this. This is like, I don't know, is it like the quintessential true crime book that every other true crime book tries to emulate in some ways? I mean, it is respectful. I thought it was respectful of the victims. There is a lot of focus on the murderers and their pasts. And I'm not loving that. I feel very mixed about it. I'm not hating it. I'm not loving it. It's just right now, as I'm reading it, it's about 3 stars and I'm halfway in. I am reading 2 more books. I'm reading My Dark Vanessa, which is amazing. I'm really enjoying is an interesting word to use with this book because it is about a woman who was essentially sexually abused by her high school teacher as a teen. And she's coming to grips with it very slowly. It goes back and forwards in time. In the present day, another girl who also went to this high school is coming out and saying, this teacher sexually abused me. And she is being asked to come out with her own abuse, and she just won't. She's actually in contact with that high school teacher and is still talking to him and still close to him in some ways and still wants to impress him. And then it goes backwards in time to her experience as a teen being sexually abused, and it is so good. I think this is one of the most important books that I'll read this year because it shows the grooming process. And I think more people need to understand the grooming process of sexual abuse. Because a lot of people can say, well, you know, if you didn't want to, why would you, why didn't you say something? There's a lot of victim blaming with sexual abuse of a minor. And it's very upsetting because it's so complicated. For the most part, you're dealing with, men and women sometimes, but people in positions of power, a parent, a high school teacher, a coach, what have you, that you are trying to impress in some way, and they're complimenting you in some way, and they're making you feel special in some way. And so the grooming process is so crucial to understanding it. And I think the more people in our society understand the grooming process, the more likely these horrible people who do these violent, terrible crimes to young people, the more they will become accountable and they will pay for their actions at some point or another in their lives. And it's so important, but I have to tell you guys, it is heavy. And I've been, I was reading this earlier in the month and my heart was heavy with everything that's going on in the world. I've been feeling very, very angry and very disappointed and just down. My heart has been heavy. And so I've kind of been picking it up and putting it down. I will be picking it up again because it's so good. It's so, so good. I'm not insanely far into it. I'm like 75 pages, but I really, really enjoying that. So while I was putting this down, I was like, I need something kind of lighter. And you guys know me. My version of light is like, let's talk about ghosts or murders or something along those lines. So I have been picking up The House of Whispers by Laura Purcell. This just came out really recently. And this is another book that goes back and forwards in time, and we meet a woman who's a nurse, and she's going to stay at this home to take care of an elderly woman, Miss Pinecroft. She needs help because I think she has had, she's paralyzed, and she's also mostly mute, not entirely, as I'm learning. And she has to go and take care of Miss Pinecroft. Well, it goes backwards in time as well, and we are delving into Miss Pinecroft's family, and her father, I believe, moves the whole family to the Cornish coast in this big, huge mansion. And he is trying to get to the bottom of consumption. The whole family is dealing with consumption, and he brings along with them all sorts of people from prison who also have been suffering with consumption and the disease, and he's doing these experiments on them. I haven't reached that part yet. So far, I'm just meeting the nurse. I'm meeting Miss Pinecroft in the present day, and then we're also, it's like 3 timelines. We're also going back in time to the nurse's past and the house that she was working at before moving here. And I am enjoying it. It's not blowing me away quite the same way as the Silent Companions did. I really loved the Silent Companions, but it's good. And I am like 90 pages in. I'll definitely continue. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now for currently reading. I've got a lot on the go. I can't believe that I already read 6 books this month. That's pretty good for me. For some people, they'd be like, I'm really failing. But for me, like, I'm pretty happy about that. So let me know in the comments below. What are you reading right now? I'd love to know what you're currently reading. I hope you're doing really well. In the description box below, you can go and check out my Amazon wishlist, my Goodreads page, my Instagram. You can also head on over to my Patreon page and join me there. We are going to be reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires for my summer book club. So if you want to join in, you're welcome to pop on over there. I hope you guys are doing really, really well, and you are having a very productive and wonderful reading month so far. I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.